Hello students and welcome to the study portal. So here we are with one more video. The topic of today's video is cell. So in today's video we are gonna discuss the definition of cell, the different types of cell, the constituents of cell, that what is the structure of cell and how it is made, and the functions of cell. At the end of this video, you will be able to understand the cell in a thorough manner. So, without delaying, let's start the video. So, let's focus on the cell. That what is actually a cell. So, you will in this picture, you are able to see a diagram of the cell which is representing the structure of cell, and here is the definition of the cell. So what is actually cell? A cell is a membrane bound structure that occurs as a functional independent unit of life or as the structural or fundamental unit in a biological tissue specialized to perform a particular function in multicellular organism. Understanding this, you can also say that cell is the structural and the functional unit of life. It is the basic unit of structure of all living things. Cell may be unicellular, meaning the cell is single. An organism may be unicellular, having single cell, and may be multicellular also, meaning having multiple types of cells. Cells arises from other living cells, not from non-living matter. Here you can see the structure of animal cell, that it is a complex structure consisting of different parts. Moving on. Now talking about the classification of cell, that what are the different types of cell. Cells may be classified in different ways. For example, based on the presence of well-defined nucleus, it may be prokaryote or eukaryote. Alright. Now, it may be also classified on the number of cells that make up an organism. For example, we told earlier that cells are unicellular, having an organism is unicellular, having single cell, and multicellular, having multiple types of cells. Here we are classifying the cell on the basis of presence of well-defined nucleus. If you see the word prokaryotic, it consists of two words, pro and karyote. Pro means before, while karyo or kary means nucleus. So the cells which do not have a well-defined nucleus or the nuclear membrane are called as prokaryote, while the cells who have well-defined nucleus are termed as eukaryote. Got it? Now eukaryotes are then subclassified into single-celled and multicellular cells. If you will see here, the multicellular organisms have multiple types of cell. The multicellular cell is found in plant cell and animal cell. Moving on. Talking about the types of cell in detail. The main difference between the two is a well-defined nucleus surrounded by a membranous nuclear envelope present only in eukaryotic cells. The eukaryotic cells have a membrane-bound nucleus and other organelles. It is more complex than the eukaryotic cell, whereas the prokaryotic cell is composed of one-celled organism with no membrane-bound nucleus or other organelles. Apart from the nucleus. There is one more difference between the eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell, and that is the organelles such as mitochondria, plastids, endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus are not present in the prokaryotic cells. Despite these differences, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells share a number of common features such as the genetic information is stored in genes, proteins serve as their main structural material, ribosomes are used to synthesize proteins, ATP is the main source of metabolic energy to sustain various cellular processes, and a cell membrane that controls the flow of substances into and out of cells. Hope the types of cell is clear to you now. Moving on. This is the difference that I told you. You can also note these differences. Now talking about the structure of cells, that how cell is formed. Cell is as I told you, it is a membrane bound structure containing cytoplasm and cytoplasmic structure. You can see here that it is a membrane bound structure made of cytoplasm and the cytoplasmic structure. All the cytoplasmic structure are here shown in this picture. It is made up of components called cell organelles. Alright, the cell membrane, you can see here the membrane of the cell. You can see here the membrane of the cell. The cell membrane is made up of two layers of phospholipids with embedded protein. As well as it regulates what enters and exits outside the cell. Every cell has a different marker that is thought to function in cell recognition or in a sort of cellular identification systems. The liquid component of the cytoplasm surrounding the organelle and other insoluble cytoplasmic structure in an intact cell where a wide variety of cell processes takes place is called a cytosol. Cell is capable to live and perform all their respective functions due to the presence of these cell organelles. Alright, so the structure of cell we will study now. The structure of cell in detail. It consists of nucleus, cytoplasm, cytosol, plasma membrane and the cell membrane, etc. Talking about organelles. What are organelles? So organelles are the small structures located inside the cells, or we can also say them as little organs. They perform certain functions that keep the cell alive, and the cell do not die because of presence of these organelles. Some organelles are present in the plant cell and other ones are in the animal cell. And some of these are similar to both of these. Now talking about cell plasma membrane. Cell plasma membrane is also called as cell membrane. Here you can see the structure of cell membrane. It is found in all cells. It separates the interior or the organelles present inside the cell from the outside membrane. It consists of lipid bilayer which is semi-permeable, which only allows the entry of certain substances inside the cell, and which also sees which material is exiting outside the cell. It regulates the transport of materials entering and exiting the cell, we can say. In animal cell, it is located outside the cell border, while in plant cell, it is located inside the cell wall. Here you can see the structure of cell membrane. That it consists of sugar side chains, cholesterol, peripheral protein, integral proteins, hydrophilic layer of head of phospholipid, hydrophobic fatty acid tail. This is the inner space, that how it looks like. Moving on. Now talking about the different functions that cell membrane perform. They have three primary functions. Number one, that it keeps a toxic substance out of the cell. It does not allow the toxic substance to enter inside the cell because it is semi-permeable in nature. Now second one is it contains certain receptors and channels that allows only specific molecules such as ions, nutrients, waste and metabolic products to enter inside the cell and perform extracellular activities or the intracellular activities. Now next one is they separate vital but incompatible metabolic processes conducted within organelles, and it is selectively permeable, so only certain substances can pass through it and the others cannot. Now moving on to cytoplasm. What is cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is the watery fluid that is present that consists of cell organelles. In this fluid, the cell organelles float. It is a thick solution that fills inside each cell and it is enclosed by a cell membrane. It consists of mainly water, salts and proteins, ions, nutrients. All of the organelles in eukaryotic cells such as nucleus, ER, mitochondria are located inside the cytoplasm. It is located between the cell membrane and the nucleus. This is what is cytoplasm, between the cell membrane and the nucleus. Moving on. Now talking about nucleus. It is a large round structure present between the cell. It is present inside the cytoplasm. It is surrounded by its own membrane which is called as the nuclear membrane. It consists of other organelles such as DNA and the nucleolus. It contains the genetic information of the cell, that is the DNA and RNA. It is responsible for containing the genetic information of the cell. Moving on. Now talking about nucleolus. Nucleolus is present inside the nucleus of eukaryotic cells only. It is not present in the prokaryotic cell. It participates in the assembling of ribosome, transfer of RNA and sensing the cellular stress. It is composed of RNA and proteins. It is one of the main component of the nucleus. It is, I told you, it consists of RNA, DNA and proteins. Moving on. Now talking about the chromosomes. The chromosomes are thread-like structure that are present inside the nucleus of animal cell and plant cell. It is made up of protein and single molecule of DNA. These are responsible for containing the specific instructions that makes each person a unique person. Every person is unique due to the presence of different chromosomes in them. These chromosomes are passed on from the parents to the offspring due to the heredity. Alright, so chromosome contains the instructions that is the coding of DNA and RNA inside them. There are 23 pairs of chromosome present in a human being. 22 pairs are called as the autosomes, whereas the last pair is called as the sex chromosomes, which determines the sex of the offspring. Moving on. Now talking about mitochondria. We all are aware with what is mitochondria because we have studied it from a very lower level of our class, that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So it is the essential component of all cells in the body. It is the powerhouse of the cell because it provides energy to carry out biochemical reaction and other cellular process in the cell. Alright, so what happens? The chemical energy which is produced by the mitochondria, it is stored in the cells in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is then used by our body to perform different function. Mitochondria also perform some other functions such as it is involved in the cellular metabolism. The different cycles that are regulated in the human body, such as citric acid cycle, involving the production of heat, controlling the concentration of calcium, and producing certain steroids. Moving on. So let's focus on some of the important functions of the mitochondria. So it is necessary to perform respiratory reactions because it stores ATP in the form of energy in the cells. ATP is released from nutrients in the cells. So if the ATPs are not produced by respiration, the cell would die, leading to the death of the organism. Now talking about endoplasmic reticulum. It is present inside the cell. Alright, so it is a complex network of tubular membranes which are present in the cytoplasm of the eukaryotic cell. Here you can see the structure of the ER, that in endoplasmic reticulum are the network of tubular membranes. You can see the tubules that are present in this membrane. It is present in the cytoplasm of the eukaryotic cell. Alright, so there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. First one is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and the second one is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum differentiates with rough endoplasmic reticulum in the characteristics that the smooth endoplasmic reticulum does not have the ribosomes. Alright, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum does not have ribosome. It does not contain ribosome. Thus, it appears as smooth, while the rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes embedded within its structure, which makes it rough. Now moving on and talking about the ribosomes. So what are ribosomes? Ribosome is a complex molecule made of ribosomal RNA and proteins, which involves in the protein synthesis in the cell. The ribosome is responsible for the synthesis of protein inside the cell. It is discovered by George E. Palade in, let me write here for you. It is discovered by George E. Palade in 1955. Alright, so each ribosome has a large component and a small component that together form a single unit composed of several ribosomal RNA molecules and dozens of proteins. So what it does, it links amino acids together in the order specified by the codons of mRNA to form polypeptide chains. The ribosomes has two main functions. First one is the decoding of messages and formation of peptide bonds, and the second one is these two activities reside in two RNA particles, RNPs of equal size, the ribosomal subunit. Alright, moving on to the Golgi complex. The Golgi apparatus is also called as Golgi complex or the Golgi body. It is a membrane-bound organelle found in the eukaryotic cells. It is made up of series of flattened stacked pouches called as cisternae. Here you can see that these are the folded membrane-bound flattened stacked pouches. These are called as cisternae. The Golgi complex is located in the cytoplasm, very next to the endoplasmic reticulum. Alright, the stack of small flat sacs is called as inside the cytoplasm is called as cisternae. It prepares proteins and lipid molecules for use in the cell activity. It is a cell organelle. It synthesizes, package and secrete cell products. Moving on. Now talking about lysosomes. These are also called as the suicide bags of the cell. It is a membrane-bound cell organelles that contains digestive enzymes. These are involved in various cellular processes. They break down excess or worn out cell parts. If the cell is damaged beyond repair, what does lysosomes do? Lysosomes self-destruct in a programmed cell death or process called apoptosis. Alright, so therefore these are also called as the suicide bags of the cells. Now moving on, talking about the vacuoles. Now understanding what is vacuole. So vacuole is a membrane bound cell organelle. In animal cells, vacuoles are generally small and helps maintain the waste products. In plant cells, vacuoles help to maintain the water balance. Sometimes a single vacuole can take up most of the interior space of the plant cell. It is present in plant and fungal cell and some protist, animal and bacterial cells. Alright, so it is also located in the cytoplasm. It is a potent secondary metabolite. Such as tannins or various biological pigments are also sequestered in the vacuoles or in plants. Moving on, talking about chloroplast. Chloroplast is an organelle which is present within the cells of plants and certain algae also. It is the site of photosynthesis, where the process of conversion of chemical energy, light energy into chemical energy takes place inside the cell. Photosynthesis is the process by which the plants make their own food. It is the organelle which is involved in the process of photosynthesis. It is located inside the cytoplasm and contain green pigment called chlorophyll. It is generally found in the green plants and single cell organisms called algae. Moving on, talking about cell wall. Cell wall is very important structure of the cell which helps in the protection of the cellular organelles. It is a stiff outer layer or the membrane which is present at the outer layer of the cells, and it is semi-permeable membrane which is responsible for entering and exits of different substances into the cell. It is composed of a non-living material called cellulose. The pores in the cell wall makes it semi-permeable, that it allows only certain substance to enter inside the cell and only the certain substances which are toxic to exit outside of the cell. The cell wall gives rigidity to the cell, that is, it gives shape to the cell, and it is also responsible for protecting the internal cellular organelles from the toxic substances. Now talking about the centrioles. These structures are found mainly in animal cells. They look like the appearance of this centriole is cylindrical, located in pairs near the nucleus. It is composed of protein called tubulin. Alright, these are involved in cell division. They play a role in cell division where the cell divides into other cell. So they play a role in organizing microtubules that serve as the cell's skeletal system. That is, it provides the skeletal organization to the cell. Alright, which is important for the cell division to ensure that each daughter cell receives the appropriate number of chromosomes. They are also important for the formation of cell structures known as cilia and flagella. Alright. Now talking about the functions of cell, the different functions that cell performs. The cell performs a varied range of functions which is very important for an human body or the plant body or any organism to maintain its living status. So let's discuss some of the functions performed by the cell. So let's discuss about the functions of the cell. So first function is the cell metabolism and energy use. As we know, all living organisms need energy to grow and reproduce, maintain their structure and respond to their environments. So metabolism is the set of life sustaining chemical process that enables organism to transform the chemical energy stored in the molecules into energy that can be used for cellular process. So first function of the cell is the cell metabolism and energy used to maintain the viability of an organism. The cellular energy metabolism encompasses many processes, ultimately resulting in the production of ATPs, which is continuously used by cells for performing essential functions such as maintenance of ionic balance across the plasma membrane, signaling and protein synthesis. Second function of the cell is the synthesis of molecules. Cells also make and alter many small organic molecules by a series of different chemical reactions. Their synthesis entails linking together a specific set of small molecules, that is monomers, to form polymers through a repetition of a single type of chemical linkage reaction. This is called as the molecule synthesis. So, molecule synthesis is a process of constructing complex chemical molecules from simple precursors. This is also synthesized by cell. Alright, so proteins, most lipid and a few carbohydrates of cell membrane are synthesized in the endoplasmic reticulum. So, this is how the cell performs this function of synthesis of molecules. The third function of the cell is the communication. Cells can also communicate directly with one another and change their own internal workings in response by way of variety of chemical and mechanical signaling. Signaling at the membrane also involves ion channels, which allows the direct passage of molecules between external and internal compartment of the cell. So, this type of communication by the cell is very important to carry out the functioning of an organism. Alright, so the function of communication in the cells is also performed by the cell itself. Now, the next function of the cell is the reproduction and inheritance. As we all know that all organisms inherit the genetic information specifying their structure and function from their parents. Likewise, all cells arise from pre-existing cells. So, the genetic material must be replicated and passed from parent to the progeny cell at each cell division. This is maintained by the cell itself. It occurs in the form of asexual reproduction also. So, heredity, also called as inheritance or biological inheritance, is the passing on of traits from parents to their offspring. The chromosomes present inside the cells performs the function of inheritance in the organism. So, these are some of the functions that are performed by the cell. Now, there are many other functions also that are performed by the cell, such as they provide structure for the body, they take in food, nutrients from the food, convert those nutrients into energy and carry out specialized function. Cell also contains the body's hereditary material, as I told you, and it can make several copies of themselves. Alright, so it is also responsible for movement. It also provides response to external stimulus, excretion, respiration and growth. Alright, it also allows passive and active transport. It creates metabolic reaction and helps in the reproduction process. So, these are the different functions that are performed by the cell. In this video, let's just take an overview of the video session that we conducted. So, we understood by this video that what is cell, what is the definition of cell. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of the cell. We also understood the different types of cell. The cells are two types, basically prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The prokaryotic cells do not have nucleus or the well-bound nuclear membrane, while the eukaryotic cell is complex and it consists of nucleus and well-bound nuclear membrane. Then we studied about the different structures of the cell, that is the cell organelles. We understood about the different cell organelles like lysosomes, chromosomes, centrioles, Golgi apparatus, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, cell wall, plasma membrane, nucleus and the nucleolus. At the end, we discussed about the functions performed by the cell. So this was the overview of the video. Hope